segment of For the People podcast. As you can see right there, my babies are behind me, Luna and baby is back there sleeping. But we have a pretty good show for you today. There's a few things I wanted to cover, but first, before we get into all that, make sure that, like I just said before I started, make sure you subscribe to Telegram. That's the way to make sure you get all of the notifications. Y'all know YouTube be tripping. Y'all know Twitter. I don't know. Well, I don't know if y'all know, but Twitter has shadow banned me. Yes, you can actually, if a lot of you try to search my name, even if you follow me at Real Niko House, it'll come up as if I don't exist. In fact, if you look for tweets, if that happens to you and you look for tweets from me, you'll actually see that you'll see people responding to me. You'll see their responses, but you won't actually see my tweets. It's bizarre. And because I have a search suggestion ban. I didn't get warned about it. I don't know where it came from, but it happened to me. It happened to Misty, Winston. It's happening to a few people. Basically, it seems like it's happening specifically because of pro-Palestine tweets, but we can't be sure because they didn't warn us. It just happened. What else? We are, I don't know if y'all noticed, but somehow YouTube randomly decided to remonetize us. So we can't accept super chats for now, right? I'll be setting up the subscriptions again for YouTube again soon. But yeah, you can super chat on YouTube now because we have somehow been remonetized. I feel like it's a setup. We're gonna see how long it lasts. I give it about 2 weeks. But we're gonna try, right? We're gonna try. What else? Obviously, subscribe to us on Rockfin. And I appreciate you guys being patient, by the way. I told y'all before, maybe like 2 weeks ago, that I wasn't going to be streaming for a bit because I am traveling right now. So I have the equipment in case of emergencies, and I have, some things here and there for random interviews. I don't have my full setup, and also don't have the space that I usually have. But also, I'm just taking care of a bunch of life stuff so I can get back to Brazil and give y'all what you need and what you want, and get back to work full time. But also, I was sick last week. That shit kind of came out of nowhere because I was actually sick maybe a month before I left Brazil, and then I got the exact same thing when I got to the States. So that sucks. I'm still recovering for you. So you're going to be hearing me sniff a lot. You might even hear it in my voice a little bit. I think that's all the administrative stuff. It's all the housekeeping work. Yeah, I think that's it. So first things first, I don't know if y'all heard, but Jill Stein actually announced her candidacy again. Now, I don't know if you all remember, but I actually said that it was coming. I don't know if y'all recall this, but I said whenever I was covering the situation with Cornel West and Peter Dow, I don't know if you all recall, but I specifically said that Jill had said that she was the manager, right? She was Cornel West's campaign manager. And she was the one who asked Chris Hedges and a couple of other advisors to look for a campaign manager for Dr. West, because she was not trying to do it anymore, even though she had the capability. She just kept saying, I'm not doing it. I can't do it right now. I'm trying to separate. I have to go do this. And I said, it's one of two things that will likely happen. It'll be, sorry, I'm trying to pull this up for y'all. What the hell? Oh, it's not my computer, so. But I said one of two things will happen. I said she's planning on running for vice president, or she's planning on running for president. And potentially Dr. West could step down, or he could leave the party. So obviously we know Dr. West did. I don't know if he left the Green Party necessarily, but we do know that he is running under an independent ticket rather than the Green Party. And that obviously left the space for Dr. Jill Stein to re-enter the race. Now, once again, y'all should know by now that as much as I do love Dr. Stein, and y'all do know I love Dr. Stein, I love me some Jill. Jill probably has been the best presidential candidate that I've had in my lifetime, as far as just on the issues, the ability to convey her arguments and her policies, the ability to galvanize people. I mean, after 2016, a lot of people forgot that she had broken a lot of records, and obviously it pissed a lot of people off, but she broke a lot of records weaponizing that anger and anxiety and the impact and just the energy from that movement that Bernie started in 2016, and then she actually turned that into something. And we have ability to contrast what it would look like in a different circumstance for somebody who's still claiming they're running as a Green Party candidate, but they're not necessarily bringing the heat like Jill, because we saw what happened when Howie Hawkins had all that energy that Jill Stein created, and then what? He shit the bed. In fact, the Green Party is low-key paying for it. That's one of the reasons that Dr. West had to take off. Basically, everybody kept asking, well, how is he going to get ballot access? How is he going to get ballot access? The truth is, Howie Hawkins and the Green Party lost a lot of it after they kind of squandered the momentum that Jill Stein had gained. So with that being said, it is important to remember, guys, I don't really believe that electoral politics is going to save the day. I want to be clear about that. So if I voted for Jill Stein, for example, it would be because I want the best candidate. I want the person who's gonna galvanize a movement rather than try to win elected office. I want an activist candidate who's still pragmatic, who, because Jill, people forget she actually has experience in political office. But so I still appreciate the pragmatism, but I'm not looking to have my life or have the country or the world saved by a president, because even if Jill Stein was to become president at the end of the day, we do know, and she knows as well, she's not silly, she's not stupid, she knows how this game goes. Even if she won, there is literally, billions and billions and billions and billions of dollars invested into stopping a president like that from making any legitimate impact outside of what they can do on TV, with their statements, with executive orders, et cetera. But even with executive orders, they can be overturned with the right amount of money given to Congress. So, or through the judicial branch as well. So even if she was to win, right, which we don't know if that's going to happen right now, but even if she was to win, there's still that reality that you have to deal with. But what I love about Jill, once again, is that she doesn't pretend that this system is legitimate, even while she's running in it. She runs races to challenge the system, right? She runs races to challenge the system. I want to show you all really quick her campaign video she announced today. And I want to know what y'all think, man.
People are tired of being thrown under the bus by wealthy elites and their bought politicians. Tired of living paycheck to paycheck, struggling to pay the rent, locked in student debt and medical debt, child poverty doubling, rising diseases of despair, growing hopelessness. The political system is broken. The two Wall Street parties are bought and paid for. Over 60% of us now say the bipartisan establishment's failed us, and we need a party that serves the people. I'm Jill Stein, and I'm running for president to offer that choice for the people outside of the failed two-party system. We'll put solutions to the crises we face, crushing inequality, endless war, and climate collapse. And we'll put these front and center in this election and on the ballot across the country. The ruling parties that got us into this mess aren't getting us out. Both parties are squandering trillions on the endless war machine, fueling conflict around the world, while tens of millions here at home lack food, housing, healthcare. Democrats have betrayed their promises for working people, youth, and the climate again and again, while Republicans don't even make such promises in the first place. And both parties are a danger to our democracy, expanding censorship, criminalizing protest, throwing competitors off the ballot, suppressing debate.
Hey, I want to talk real quick about whoever chose that song for this. Y'all crazy for that. Y'all like, it sounds like I'm about to watch a new Marvel movie, honestly. It's a good song, man. Well, I'm already motivated. I don't even like campaigning. I'm about to get on campaign for somebody.
So forget the pundits and the attack dogs who tell you to ignore your misery and just keep voting for those who caused it in the first place. Change won't come from the ruling elites. It comes from we, the people. And when we stand together, we can create living wage jobs for all Americans. We can guarantee an economic bill of rights with the right to a job, to healthcare, to housing, to food, education, and more. We can abolish student debt, medical debt. We can create a Green New Deal with millions of jobs to fight climate collapse,
a real Green New Deal, not that bullshit.
And protect Mother Earth. And we can ensure our constitutional rights and freedoms and justice for all. We can end the endless wars and rampant militarism and use diplomacy and international law instead to end violence, occupation, and apartheid. We do have the power, and we can use it in this election to start building an America and a world that works for all of us. Go to JillStein2024.com and join us.
So I think you all would agree. Probably right now, if you're going just straight off of policy, right? Jill Stein's probably the best. I hope that's not controversial. Is that a controversial statement? Now, if you're going off of like, okay, they have a couple of policies off. For example, RFK's policy on Israel and Palestine is trash, right? Although he may be good on a lot of other things. That's objectively true. But he has a better chance to win because as of right now, it does look like he's going to be on the debate. Okay, that's cool. That's a different conversation. We can have that. Dr. West doesn't actually have as good of a chance. It doesn't look like he's going to make it on the debate stage at the moment. But his Ukraine policy is weak, in my mind. His COVID policy, or at least his positions in the past, are very weak, and that's like a big problem for me personally. I know it's a big problem for a lot of people, especially anybody who's been affected by those policies. But he's great on the majority of policies, especially social issues, obviously. And he wants to abolish NATO, so he's on the same page. But Jill has experience that RFK doesn't have campaigning, right? She actually knows. I've never seen Jill get past a ball of energy from a frustrated electorate and then drop the ball. You get what I'm saying? Like RFK Jr., for example, he was doing amazing. And then the Israel situation got brought up and he fumbled the bag. He was like ascending to heights that to some degree he is. But if he's getting 10, 12 points in the polls right now, even as he's fumbling the bag, imagine if he had Jill's awareness and policy knowledge and experience, and you like put Jill in RFK's shoes, for example, give her RFK's last name, and where do we end up? Does Jill fumble the bag in Kennedy's position or fumble that ball in in Kennedy's position like he did? Probably not. Jill's probably at 15, 16% if she had RFK's last name, right? That's the difference. I don't see any negative from Jill entering the race. If anything, I feel like she puts other candidates on their heels, because now that the country is thirstier for a third party, for an alternative, now more than ever before, and people like RFK has his shortcomings, Cornel West has his shortcomings, mainly discernment in general. When it comes to just how to campaign correctly and how to not piss off his own base, Jill keeps everyone else on their toes because she's not going to make those mistakes. Now, there's a caveat. Please don't bring on Peter Dow, Jill, for the love of God. Please don't do it. We try to look past that. We're trying to look past that. And given that you did have aspirations and ambitions to be the president, I could understand why you were trying to hand off the the managerial job to somebody as quickly as possible. So we're gonna let that slide. Okay, we're gonna let that slide because I understand now why you were in a rush to just pass it over. And also, it should have been Dr. West who said nah. Like, even if you said, okay, like, this is my recommendation, Dr. West should have been like, nah. That's his responsibility, not yours. So we're gonna let that slide. But other than that, Dr. Stein has had discernment. Dr. Stein has experience in political office, but also campaigning as well. And she already has movement behind her in a lot of ways. So I'm excited. One of the things that I'm excited about is that by far, she's had the best response on Israel-Palestine. I'm gonna pull it up for y'all. That was the second video she uploaded after announcing.
I want to speak to the massacre now taking place before our eyes in Gaza. I speak as someone who deplores violence in all its forms and condemns violence against civilians of any nation. The war crimes being perpetrated by Netanyahu against Palestinians, however, are in a league of their own and have reached genocidal proportions, with Palestinians denied food, water, medicine, and electricity, while being relentlessly bombed as they're forced to flee their homes, running for their lives. President Biden and bipartisan leaders are not only complicit, they are full partners in Netanyahu's war crimes, supplying the bombs raining down on Gaza, the airplanes dropping them, the aircraft carriers defending the Israeli military, $10 million a day to strengthen the IDF, and propaganda to run political interference. The US role in blocking a UN ceasefire resolution is absolutely unforgivable. We call for an investigation of the Netanyahu regime's war crimes, as well as the role of Biden and US leaders in aiding and abetting them. And above all, these crimes must stop now. As a Jew who grew up just after the Holocaust, with relatives who fled pogroms and a grandfather named Israel, I take never again seriously, and that means never again for anyone. For all those reasons, we demand a ceasefire, an end to the blockade, humanitarian and medical relief, release of hostages and political prisoners, and an end to occupation and apartheid. This is the only path to peace and security for us all.
You know what's crazy about that? Was that so hard, y'all? Honestly, y'all let me know. Was that so hard? What was so hard about saying that? RFK, I'm looking at you because I got a lot of, because once again, y'all have to understand, I lost somebody in my family, really actually two people, but the first person that caused the dominoes in my family to fall, like, it was because of the COVID situation. Okay, so I have a lot of respect for RFK Jr. I do. That's what pisses me off about his stance on Israel. Now, I know, in fairness to him, apparently he's taking a step back. He's talking to his people, his team, and he's supposed to be reassessing his position there. I know there was a Dave Rubin clip that just went around recently, but I was informed that that is an older clip that happened prior to October 7th, and that's supposed to be not representative of what he's supposed to release soon. That's what I've been told. But at the same time, how do we even get there? Because you can't say you're a peace candidate, because Jill Stein says she's a peace candidate too, right? And then be like, oh, like having Israel's like having an aircraft carrier in the Middle East. What the fuck? Why do we need an aircraft carrier in the Middle East? That's the first question, right? Why would you even say that? Where are you getting your policy? And like, that is the biggest problem with so many of these candidates. They have zero foreign policy knowledge, to the point where they may have the situation, they may understand it to a degree, and they can come to the right conclusion. But the problem starts when they get pushed back and they don't have the confidence to then go and argue their point, even whenever it seems that their back is against the wall. Jill Stein's, what she said was non-controversial. It shouldn't be considered controversial, is my point. She's like, oh man, we should end the apartheid, end illegal occupation, and make sure that we respect international laws and not genocide children. Release all prisoners. These are non-controversial statements. If anyone on Fox News or CNN wanted to challenge her on these statements, they would have a very difficult job doing so. I mean, I've seen Jill debate on these situations in those interviews, so it wouldn't be difficult for her. But my point is, it shouldn't be hard. It was not hard to make that statement. And so many times, I had a problem with Dr. West's initial statement. He came back and cleaned it up a bit. You know, it wasn't horrible. It wasn't Bernie Sanders. Right? It wasn't Tulsi Gabbard. That's a different conversation we're gonna talk about later. But what Jill said was straight to the point. It wasn't duplicitous like we've seen a lot of the times. It wasn't both sides. Like, you can't both sides a genocide that started 75 years ago. Right? Especially now, because there's so many people that blame October 7th exclusively on Hamas, and say that that's why the genocide is happening in Gaza right now. Then somebody explain to me why Israel's out there terrorizing the West Bank right now when there's no Hamas there. Nothing on October 7th had anything to do with the West Bank specifically. But right now, Israel is trying to push them out too. So, like, people both sides it. Jill did not do that. I've had this theory for quite some time. Really since maybe 2016, 2017. Even whenever Bernie was one of the best on foreign policy, not, obviously he had his shortcomings then too, but he was still one of the best that we had available to vote for. I learned, because of Bernie's equivocation on Israel and Palestine, and then I looked at where he was falling short on other issues. I learned, if you understand the Israel-Palestine conflict in its entirety, or at least at its core, you can't get another issue wrong. You get what I'm saying? If you understand the Israel-Palestine conflict at its core, sometimes people get it right. Sometimes I'm not talking about the equivalent, because some people will get other issues wrong, like major issues. You know what I'm saying? Disagreements is different. I'm talking about major conflicts, major issues in society. Some people will get other issues wrong, but it's because, and they'll get Israel-Palestine right, but that's because they don't understand Israel-Palestine at its core. They may understand it for example, you see a lot of people who just understand, like, right now, what's happening in this moment, the genocide is wrong. They understand that. They might understand Netanyahu is a dick. They get that, right? But they don't understand what all of the Israel-Palestine conflict is rooted in. There is the apartheid. That's real. That's reality. People don't even know it's an open-air prison. People will literally tell you that Palestinians have the same rights as Israel. Palestinians, especially from Gaza, cannot leave the blockade. They can't go into Israel. People don't even know. But that's willful ignorance, right? There is segregationism, right? There is a level of Nazism. That's a fact. There's a level of supremacy involved. There's imperialism obviously involved, which is why Israel is able to get away with it. There's economics involved. And to understand Israel-Palestine at its core, you have to understand the empire. You have to understand social issues, prejudice, discrimination, what it looks like, how it manifests in international politics and international relations, history. And that's what Jill Stein understands. And that's why, if you look at any issue, if I don't know if y'all saw this during that her campaign announcement, she said climate collapse, not climate crisis, not climate change, climate collapse. That means Jill's been paying attention, because right after she said at climate collapse, she said in protecting our environment, which hints at the fact that she understands that the fourth industrial revolution is weaponizing the argument of climate change in order to benefit big corporations at the expense, the human expense, obviously, of slave labor, and at the expense of the environment. She didn't echo the talking points, the propaganda talking points that you hear about climate change in order to justify the fourth industrial revolution. Why? Because if you understand something like Israel and Palestine, you can understand how the game is played in general. That's facts. And so she's about to keep everybody on her toes. I'm excited about it. I'm excited about it. I wanted to show y'all real quick this. Do y'all know Destiny? Y'all know Destiny, right? The douchebag who likes to debate. Or he likes to argue. He doesn't debate. I don't think it's fair to say that he's a debater. Destiny loves to argue. So he invited Dan Cohen to come on to his show or his live stream because he leans pro-Israel, of course, because Stephen, the supposed leftist, literally only argues for CIA talking points. He wanted to debate him on this, and he rage quit. Let me go ahead and clarify before we get started. It was one of them debates. I love it, man. I love it. Honestly, I love it. It's to be expected from somebody like Destiny or Voucher, those type of guys. You can't get onto a stream with Dan Cohen, who has been to Palestine, has been to Gaza, he did a docu-series on it, man. He literally did a documentary on it. You can't get on somebody like that who knows what they're talking about and think that you're going to play one of these little games that you would play with these little red pill fools, right? Like when I debated Destiny, this man, y'all don't even know. I'll tell y'all the story though. When I debated Destiny, it was in, I want to say Texas. It was at an event in Texas, and we were debating social media and their connection to the government, et cetera, and basically, as expected, Destiny was caping for the CIA. If he could have rage quit that one, he would have quit. Want to know how I know? Because I hadn't been invited back to the event, and I actually just hadn't been paying attention because I usually am invited once or twice a year to go, right? But because he's one of the main streamers for the liberal side of the event, after I put foots on him in that debate, he told them that they can't invite me back if they want to still use his platform to stream the debate, their like events. And obviously Destiny has a big platform. So like I said, anytime, like Destiny never actually debates people who know what they're talking about because they do this, because they've been on the ground, because they do the journalistic legwork, because they do genuine analysis. They don't just debate other debate bros and red pill dumbasses that are easy to debate because they're easily debunked because they don't really believe in what they believe in. They're just saying what they can for clicks. The moment that they face somebody like Dan Cohen or myself or like a Fiorella, because I don't know if y'all know, Fiorella debated Destiny the year before and they didn't invite her back probably because of Destiny. Because it was the same kind of concept about the intelligence community influencing media. So obviously, you know where Fiorella stood on that. And she embarrassed Destiny to the point where one of my conservative homeboys came up and was like, yo, I need to meet her. It was like that. So that's the context. Before you see this is who Destiny is. And I say that he shouldn't be even having these conversations with somebody like Dan if you're going to take the opposite position and you're not trying to learn. Because Tim Pool, when he took like a neutral, I guess, position on the situation, and he actually listened to Max Blumenthal, which I was kind of surprised about. Yeah, that's not what Destiny did here. It's not what Destiny did here. Destiny decided to take an expert on the issue and debate him, despite admitting that he's only been paying attention to Israel Palestine since October 7th. So like 20 minutes he's known about this whole situation. And he decided he wanted to argue with Dan Cohen. So let's look at this little clip. Later on, once Dan released the full video, we're covering that debate at length.
You don't know anything about Judaism. You don't know anything about Zionism. And you're a YouTuber who lives in your living room. And that's how you make your living. I am a journalist. I actually have skin in the game. I go to places that I talk about. Okay. So I actually know what I'm talking about, unlike you.
Gotcha. So you think that Jews would feel safe in a one-state solution? You don't think they have any reason to feel like their rights would be infringed upon, pogroms would happen, expulsions would happen?
You keep going back to this.
Well, because that's the whole
democracy.
reason. I'm not.
You hate democracy, dude.
I'm just trying.
So, off rip, right? He was like, "Okay, you don't think that Jews would have their rights infringed with the one-state solution?" Okay, maybe that is a legitimate fear. But do you know why it's a legitimate fear? Why would they have their rights infringed upon? Is it because there could potentially be retaliation? It's like he doesn't even know what's happening right now. And I'm sure that this gets covered at some point during the debate. Like, you know what? Yeah, at any point, I'm worried about Jewish people or Christians or non-Christians. I'm worried about anybody who could potentially have their rights infringed upon, which is why it's so concerning to know that literally Palestinians live in an open-air prison. Because of Israel, because of them. Effectively, there is a one-state solution that is taking place, that's already been taking place for the last 75 years. Otherwise, you wouldn't be able to constantly break international law by expanding into illegal and creating illegal settlements and not being held accountable for it. There's already a one-state solution that's happening. And this what it always comes back to with these is what it always comes back to with these people, y'all. Always. You don't care because they're Muslim. You don't care because they're Arabic. You don't care because they're Palestinian. Their rights have been ripped from them. Their humanity in a lot of ways have been ripped. I mean, how many kids have had, how many kids have died? And it didn't just start from October 7th. You don't care about their rights being infringed upon them, but he throws the word Jewish out there as if that's supposed to make us care more than we should care about the Muslims having their rights taken away. And we've seen this happening over and over and over and over again. What happens to the Jewish people if da-da-da-da happens? I don't know. What are you worried that the same thing's going to happen to them that happened to the Palestinians? Is that what you're worried about? I've had that conversation plenty of times with y'all. I was like, there's like a sect of society that are truly afraid for like there's a sect of white people who like to scapegoat the rest of the country for their problems because they're truly afraid of equity of opportunity. Because they're worried that if all things were equal, that we would retaliate for some of the things that have happened, like not just we as black people, but like in general. They're worried that minorities would retaliate and treat them how they treated us. When most of us, we just trying to move on. That's what we're concerned about. And basically a lot of people with Israel, that's the same kind of concern they have. Oh, what happens if Palestine does get power and they have a grudge? And most of Palestine actually they don't want to have a grudge. But, you keep killing them indiscriminately, then probably they will. Or no, they kill them discriminately, very discriminately. But they want to move on and y'all won't let them. So you're going to get to a point where there is no other choice but for them to do what they've been doing. But that's the argument you hear over and over again. They don't care that Muslims are having their rights infringed upon, but they do care if Jewish people might, in a hypothetical situation, potentially have their rights infringed upon. It's crazy, bro.
Just trying to engage with what is a realistic solution forward?
We've been through this like 10 times. You keep asking me the same thing.
Do you think that when you're in the Gaza Strip and you're talking to other Arabs there, do you think that they're happy that people like you are encouraging the violence to continue indefinitely so you can build journalistic careers on it? Like, does that make you feel good?
Do you hear this, man? Do you think that people in Gaza, Palestinians or Arabs and like what? First of all, he's like, do you care that he like Dan isn't trying to build journalistic charisma off of this? Dan already went. He went to Gaza when no one was talking about it. He didn't build journalistic charisma. He's a Jewish guy who went to Gaza. Him and Max Blumenthal went to Gaza to see all of the things that no one was talking about in the States at a time where the majority of the world either didn't care or were actively cheering against Palestine in favor of Israel. But Dan's trying to build, come on, Destiny, dog, come on. As a person who we all know likes to do it for the check, Destiny, you should know what journalistic integrity looks like versus trying to just get a bag. Because you are the king of just trying to get a bag. You will do and say whatever and debate whoever just to get a damn bag. The only reason you're even talking about Israel and Palestine right now is because everyone is so honed in and focused on it. They don't want to hear really about any other issue at the moment. So you were forced to do your little 20 minutes of Wikipedia research and pretend like you give a damn. You don't, though. And it's so obvious that you don't. It's like you didn't even do any research on Dan before you invited him on, because you're like, oh, like, what would happen if you went and talked to Arabs? I don't know. Why don't you look at the damn documentary and find out? Because he's done it already. What are you talking about? Oh, man.
Oh,
I'm just curious, right? Like, how many people have you met that have died in the recent attacks, and you're out here like on the internet jerking off an unworkable solution that'll never happen because it gets you clicks? Like, it's
He's jerking off an unworkable solution. What solution? He first of all, Dan hasn't really been advocating for. He's been very clear. He's just like the Jill Stein clip. He's been very clear. Just in the apartheid, bro. In the apartheid. In the apartheid. And everything that comes with it. I don't understand. Like, don't break international law. An unworkable solution because of what? It's unworkable because Israel doesn't want it to work and the West doesn't want it to work. Is that why it's unworkable? Why isn't it workable?
like, it's disgusting.
Buddy.
You realize that, right? Can you admit that? You know that a one-state solution will never happen, right? You understand that do you acknowledge
A one-state solution will never happen, yet they live in a one-state solution. So clearly it's possible. There's already a one-state solution already in play. It's possible.
a one-state solution
who just wants to cheer on Benjamin Netanyahu. Right. No, you called for genocide. I have the clip right here. Why don't we play it? Why don't we play this clip?
Is that we're doing the clip farming now? I don't have to. I don't talk in clips. I don't exist in 30-second clips.
Why don't we play?
Because I don't.
You know what's crazy about that? There are a lot of people who can say that you can't really codify their ideology in 30-second clips. Destiny is not one of those people. You can absolutely codify Destiny's entire ideology in 30-second clips, almost without fail. Almost without fail.
I don't exist in 30-second clips. You have me right here.
No. Why don't we play it?
This is it. This is all it is. It's the clip farming.
Why don't we play it? Here,
It's the clip farming. What are you so worried about? Why are you worried that the words that you said on camera while you were live streaming will be played for other people here again during a debate? I don't understand. Is it because you actually are saying bullshit and you're worried that somebody found it and is going to bring it back up? Okay, whatever. I mean, I don't care. Y'all want to clip my shit up and post it? I appreciate the free promo, guys, especially if it's going to be during the debate. Please post my shit during the debate. But I don't know. Why would he be worried? Let's find out why he's so worried.
You know what? Yeah. No, this is you calling for genocide. Why don't we actually play it and show your audience? Because I know you tried to hide it from your stream so people couldn't actually see it.
Do we want to go through your tweets where you're claiming U.S. Special Forces are in Israel on the Gaza border and it's literally pictures of like...
Bro, this is why you shouldn't talk about issues like you're an authority when you've only been paying attention for 20 minutes. They are literally, the Special Forces literally on the Gaza border. In fact, even Fox News reported injuries and losses already to the U.S. military. What are we talking about, bro? I bet that's just what those people are like, there's no U.S. military in Syria. And then whenever they're like started coming back reports like, oh, troops are down in Syria and also the U.S. military is there. Our bad. We forgot to tell y'all. He was just super quiet about the fact that he was one of those people that was like, there's no troops in Syria. Because y'all remember how that went back in the day? Because they kept saying we're bombing Syria because we don't want troops there. We don't want them losing their lives. And it turned out there were troops always there, at least for the last maybe 7 or 8 years. And they were just bombing them anyway. But they lied about the troops being there. But everyone who was saying that it was, as long as we keep droning, it's fine because no troops are being lost. A lot of conservatives that were saying that. They were wrong. A lot of conservatives and Democrats saying that, but they were wrong and they just kept pretending like they didn't say that. If there is a conflict where the U.S. is involved in some way, form, or fashion, especially if we're giving aid, military, aid to that conflict or to a country involved in that conflict, best believe the U.S. is there. What the hell? Come on, bro. We had U.S. officers training the Azov battalion in Ukraine in like 2015, 2016, before anyone even knew that we were that involved in Ukraine. So, yes, if we're giving the military aid, if we have troops there, or excuse me, if we have any investment there, it's highly likely that we already have troops there. And you know damn well that if Israel's getting into some shit, that the U.S. is going to send some troops. Come on, dog.
LARPing military. Oh, do you have any evidence of that?
U.S. Special Forces are in Israel. You can look it up.
I didn't say in Israel. I said on the Gaza border. You said they were on the Gaza border. In Israel, on the Gaza border.
Here's you calling for genocide.
Listen, I'm good, dude. If you want to talk in
Are you going to cut me off because I'm showing you?
Yeah, I'm not going to sit here and have you play clips to me like we're 4 years old, right, dude? Like, if you don't want to engage with the subject matter,
I'm confused. How are playing? I'm not going to sit here and have you play clips to me like you're 4 years old. What? What? Playing your clips during a debate about words that you said about the situation that y'all debating about is acting like a 4-year-old, or is that holding you accountable? Mr. You're farming for clicks. You're farming for clicks by exploiting it. Like, really, bro? So we're going to talk about who's farming for clicks after this.
If you don't know anything about what's going on, if you just want to throw out like a bunch of weird, like, Zionist conspiracy theories.
Weird Zionist conspiracy theories. He's playing your clip for you.
You just want to sit here like talking about how the only possible solution is a one-state solution. That's fine.
Man, are you gonna tickle fucking
knock yourself out? Knock yourself out. I hope that the Russian paycheck.
Bro, he did not just say, "Are you gonna tickle Netanyahu's balls?" Bro, that's funny.
Are worthwhile.
Hold on.
I hope the Russian paychecks are worthwhile. I hope you enjoy it. Have fun, my dude.
You got
Bro, first of all, he literally just said, I hope the check's worth it. Question, how many streamers for y'all? I don't want to play the rest of that because y'all need to see that. But how many streamers do y'all know on YouTube or Twitter or Instagram or whatever? How many people have been taken off for kissing Zionist ass, for celebrating the genocide in Palestine? How many people do y'all know who actually have been demonetized, suspended, have their channels taken down, like Vanessa Beeley, or I know Heartlands Media had theirs temporarily suspended. I know RBN went through it for a little bit. Like, how many people do y'all know that have been celebrating Israel who have had their pages taken down? How many people do you know who have taken Destiny's argument, Destiny's side of the debate, and lost a check? Anybody y'all know? Anybody? A single channel that celebrated Israel in their response to October 7th. Any one of them lost a check? Yeah, okay. So how many people do y'all know that had their pages taken down, demonetized, suspended, shadow banned, basically for taking dance position? How popular was taking the Palestine position until recently? It wasn't that popular. I know it sounds, maybe if you're a leftist, you're like, well, what's popular for us? Yeah, for us. And it was like for the staunchest of leftists that actually understood what was going on. But I've always maintained, of course, that the issue has persisted for 75 years because not enough people cared. And the ones who did were taking Israel's side. There was no money in Dan's position. And in reality, if we're being completely honest, you stand to lose money for taking Dan's position because it's the right position, and that's how the empire works. That's how propaganda and the elites work. But Destiny's talking about a check. Destiny, you just started caring, quote unquote, caring about this particular issue because everyone else in the world is worried about it, and you can't stream. You can't make your money without streaming, and you can't stream without talking about it, or people are going to keep begging you for it. Because that's what's trending. That's what Destiny does. He talks about the trends, right? Dan has talked about this before you even knew where Gaza was on a map, bro. What are you talking about? That's like saying Niko just started talking about election fraud on January 6th. Boy, you better look me up. I've been talking about election integrity. Dan's been talking about this. This is not for a check. This is his main thing. Covering how the U.S. empire exploits smaller nations and different groups of people. He did the same thing in Haiti. He did a documentary on Haiti. But if that came back up in the debate, it wasn't going to say, "Oh, you're just trying to farm for clicks. You don't care about Haitians." Like, come on, bro. Let's look at this clip that Dan wanted to show.
What do you think's the right move?
Honestly, I'm pro-genocide. It sounds really shitty, but like I think that Israel should just drop its fucking borders about where it is now, and basically Palestinians can go live in another place.
Mm-hmm.
That's really shitty, but like that's about where I'm at.
What he said.
You just think the Palestine should just pack up and Native American the fuck out of there?
The problem is that it seems like there is a hugely general hostility to Jewish people across really the entire world, definitely the Middle East. So the problem is that as you weaken...
Bro, I don't understand. Where are people getting this idea that there's just like this violent hostility towards Jewish people? Now, there might be some now, right? But that's a different conversation. There might be some now. But 10 years ago, okay, there's some people who don't like Jewish people. Okay, there are a lot of people who don't like Christians. Okay, and if you want to talk about unjustified and unwarranted hostility towards entire groups to the point that they've had to pay for it more than anyone else, it is literally Muslims, right? I want you to understand something. This is not conjecture. This is a fact. Islamic extremism was started by the United States. There was a book written on it by the U.S. And I want to say it was the University of Indiana. They had a Pakistan campus where they taught religious extremism. Then we go on to fund extremists. And in some cases, those extremists kill Americans. And then we go to their country that were housing extremists, a lot of time not even from that nation, but the extremists were there, right? So now the US goes there to kill the extremists. We barely kill any of them, and we end up killing hundreds of thousands of the people for the country that we went to go save, supposedly. The US kills hundreds of thousands of Iraqis. They kill hundreds of thousands of Afghans. And people don't care, right? People might care a little bit now, but could you imagine, say if 3 US shooters went to Europe, shot a bunch of people up, 100 people up, 200 people up for Christian extremism, and then England with some NATO powers came to the US to get the organization that created the shooters, and they just accidentally killed 100,000 US citizens. Could you imagine some shit like that happening? Absolutely not. You could not imagine that. Because the US is predominantly a Christian nation. They would never allow it. The world would never allow it. Innocent civilian Muslims have to pay for the actions of extremists that were cultivated, by the way, by the US. They're paying for the actions of somebody in their religion more than anyone else in the world, including Jewish people. Isn't like some one fascistic dickhead committing a Holocaust in a vacuumous situation. This is genocide in perpetuity. This is wiping out hundreds of thousands of people because they live in a Muslim nation. And they just happen to be in the nation that these extremists happen to be hiding in. And you barely touch the extremists, and you constantly kill civilians, and no one is holding you accountable for it. Could you imagine a world where 300,000 or 400,000 Jewish people were killed and no one was held accountable for it? JFB, e aí? Eu vou gostar de quem? Did I miss something? Did you say something? Oh, dois livros para mim. Sorry, I'm trying to read this, guys. I saw somebody speaking to me in Portuguese. Oh, you didn't put him up there? Quando você pode, me manda no Twitter. Yeah, sim. Sim, me manda no Twitter e eu vou ler. All right. So I'm trying to read through these comments. Anyway, that's my point. And Destiny, right? Because he showed all that concern about Jewish people. What happens if rights are infringed upon? Like, that's a big deal. Yeah, it is true. That's a big deal. But it's the concern that all of a sudden Destiny conveys when he feels that Jewish people who represent quote unquote Western values are going to have their rights infringed upon. But it's the total and complete apathy that he expresses when saying that he's okay with Palestinian genocide. He didn't want y'all to see that. That's why he rage quit when Dan pulled up that clip. That's why he was complaining about clip farming, whatever the hell that means. Clip, bro, yes, believe it or not, journalists tend to do clip farming. That's how we get, that's primary source material. It's your words. Why would you not want your words on the internet? You put the words there. Not even that long ago. He didn't want y'all to see that the concern for Jewish people all of a sudden matched the level of apathy that he has for Palestinian deaths. He's more concerned about some rights, some societal democratic rights of Jewish people than he is about the targeting and discriminatory death of Palestinian civilians, y'all. Come on, bro. The fact that people like Destiny are actually popular will never stop surprising me. I don't. There'd be days sometimes, y'all, like this last week, as I've seen the world come together, really across the board in support of Palestine. The elites are one thing, obviously, but even some of the politicians around the world have been coming together. But the way I've seen the world come together in protest, and really have not stopped talking about this. They have not let this issue die and holding people accountable. That started giving me faith in humanity a little bit. But then I remember that people like Destiny somehow have a platform and people pay to hear this man talk and to hear his opinion on issues. He literally studied off of Wikipedia for 20 minutes. I saw a comment somewhere that said the only people who watch Destiny are men without fathers or men who hate their fathers. Qual livros? Eu não vi que onde colocou. Me manda no Twitter. They're in English, right? Because my reading in Portuguese is like suspect still. But even still, if they're not, that's fine. I can audiobook them. Anyway. Yeah, man. I just had to show you that clip. So best believe when that debate drops, the full length, because Dan, I guess, recorded it because he's a smart man. And he probably assumed that Destiny was going to, that he was going to rage quit and remove it. That's what happened with me and Vouch. Vouch, when I debated Vouch and Vouch rage quit, Vouch deleted the video. He deleted it because but it was too late at that point. I already had it up. Come on, y'all know me. So we're definitely gonna cover that whenever he drops the full joint. Now we can get to the main event. I know some people are probably mad if y'all been here waiting for me to start this topic. There's a reason. There was like a legitimate reason for it. YouTube has like an algorithm that scans the first 10 minutes of your video to figure out what you're talking about to decide whether or not they're gonna ban you. And if I'm gonna be talking about Israel, y'all know, come on, man, I gotta give a little bit of time, dog. I gotta try to bobbing and weaving the algorithm. I'm bobbing and weaving, y'all. That's what I'm trying to do. Oh, Destiny put it back up. Oh man, I'm gonna have to come back for that later. I'm gonna have to come back for that. I'm supposed to be building my new computer tomorrow, so if I have time, we'll try it tomorrow. Está uma abacaxi. Really? Nah, but I love pineapple juice. So, I don't know if y'all heard this crazy news, y'all. Well, actually, no, this might be like the third or fourth time you've heard this. Israel's killing his own people. I don't know if y'all know. I mean, multiple people. A lady went on the radio like the third day of this whole conflict and was like, yeah, man, so RDF soldiers were killing other people or other Jewish people, other Israelis. And everybody's like, what? That's conspiracy theory. No, it isn't. The Jewish lady, the Israeli lady said it. She was a hostage. She was the one who told us. And everybody ignored it, right? Then the Gray Zone put out an article. And Mid Press put out another article saying like, yo, I don't know if y'all been paying attention, but the IDF killed a lot of their own people that day. Right? Mid Press and Gray Zone put out articles talking about this. Mid Press, like the week of the 14th or 15th. And then the Gray Zone, October 27th. They both put out articles about this. So nobody wanted to listen to them. So maybe, just maybe, they'll listen to the pilots of the IDF who are in the Apache helicopters raining fire on their own people. Maybe they'll listen to them. So let's check out this clip really quick from my hotspot. I covered this on Hotspot. Make sure y'all go follow Hotspot, of course. And then I'm gonna talk about it.
Admitted that they had Apache helicopters. So not only have members of the IDF admitted that they had Apache helicopters attack Israeli civilians, but there's actually video footage of it. Israel, Joe Gasson explain todo. Israeli pilots testified that it was a little bit difficult to figure out who was Hamas, who was Palestinian, who was Israeli, who was a civilian. So they just said, fuck it, and just killed everybody, which confirms other reports and testimonies that we've heard from other Israelis saying that Israeli civilians and IDF hostages were actually being killed by the IDF and not Hamas. And the order to destroy Israeli infrastructure, knowing that Israeli civilians and soldiers were in there, reportedly came from all the way at the top of the Israeli brass. This is a photo of all the cars that were destroyed by the Apache helicopters. Not even all the artillery, just the Apache helicopters that were also caught killing Israeli civilians. Now, we've been told that just about 1,400 Israelis were killed that day on October 7th. But given the photo I just showed you all, if they did that much damage to cars, how many of those 1,400 civilians were actually killed by Israeli artillery and friendly fire? And if Israel is justifying the genocide in Gaza because of civilians that Hamas was supposedly responsible for killing, and also Zionists and Israelis are cheering for this genocide because of the civilians that were supposedly killed, why don't we see the same energy from Israelis, Zionists, and the Western world in general about Israel killing its own civilians, potentially killing more Israelis than Hamas actually did because they had the artillery and firepower to do so and was clearly firing at people indiscriminately. Not to mention, Israel actually has a Hannibal policy justifying the killing of its own IDF soldiers. So I'm gonna keep it real with you. I don't want to hear that 1,400 number anymore when you all come into my mentions talking about justifying a genocide, because for all we know, the majority of those people were actually killed by Israel. And y'all don't have none of that energy for them. So not only have members of the IDF...
Did y'all hear that? Oh, man. Oh, well, I'll play it again. Here you go.
IDF admitted that they had Apache helicopters attack Israeli civilians, but there's actually video footage of it. Israel, Joe Gasson explain todo. Israeli pilots testified that it was a little bit difficult to figure out who was Hamas, who was Palestinian, who was Israeli, who was a civilian. So they just said, fuck it, and just killed everybody, which confirms other reports and testimonies that we've heard from other Israelis saying that Israeli civilians and IDF hostages were actually being killed by the IDF and not Hamas. And the order to destroy Israeli infrastructure, knowing that Israeli civilians and soldiers were in there, reportedly came from all the way at the top of the Israeli brass. This is a photo of all the cars that were destroyed by the Apache helicopters. Not even all the artillery, just the Apache helicopters that were also caught killing Israeli civilians. Now, we've been told that just about 1,400 Israelis were killed that day on October 7th. But given the photo I just showed you all, if they did that much damage to cars, how many of those 1,400 civilians were actually killed by Israeli artillery and friendly fire? And if Israel is justifying the genocide in Gaza because of civilians that Hamas was supposedly responsible for killing, and also Zionists and Israelis are cheering for this genocide because of the civilians that were supposedly killed, why don't we see the same energy from Israelis, Zionists, and the Western world in general about Israel killing its own civilians, potentially killing more Israelis than Hamas actually did because they had the artillery and firepower to do so and was clearly firing at people indiscriminately. Not to mention, Israel actually has a Hannibal policy justifying the killing of its own IDF soldiers. So I'm gonna keep it real with you. I don't want to hear that 1,400 number anymore when you all come into my mentions talking about justifying a genocide, because for all we know, the majority of those people were actually killed by Israel. And y'all don't have none of that energy for them.
I know y'all said y'all could hear it, but you know, you gotta see it. Y'all need to see it. Because what the hell? So now we have hostages saying, and maybe Israel could deny the hostages and what they said. It's easy to deny that shit, right? Then you have a couple of actually the older lady, the older hostage came out, the one who shook hands with Hamas. She came out and said the same thing. They're like, yo, there was not only like y'all unprepared, but then they were firing on Israeli civilians and IDF soldiers, right? So there's another one who said it. So maybe Israel could deny that. But then pilots go back to Israel and they testify about what took place. And they admit themselves that they did it. And did you see the cars, the amount of cars that were obliterated, bro? They were obliterated. Rows and rows and rows and rows of vehicles were obliterated. So if the Apache firepower did that to vehicles, what the hell do you think they did to their own people? So now what we're seeing is that this narrative is coming apart in a major way. Because I don't know if y'all remember, but I actually said the original number I don't really believe. Why would I don't believe it. Like Israel lied off rip about the baby heads. They lied off, like they got caught lying an hour into the whole conflict. Why would I take on its face or accept on its face anything that Israel says without a whole lot of proof, bro? I mean, a whole lot of it. Remember, they were like, yo, we wouldn't bomb hospitals. Well, that's crazy. Why would we bomb that hospital? Hey, real quick. So we're about to bomb these other hospitals, and we definitely bombed a bunch of hospitals before. But we're gonna give y'all a warning. We called y'all, right? We called y'all an hour before and told y'all to go south, where we also bombed convoys heading south, but whatever. So like we're supposed to believe they didn't bomb that one hospital, but they proceed to bomb 3 at the same time right after that. So why would I accept anything Israel says on its face? And I had said, I don't believe that number, nor do I believe the story. I don't believe the story, and I don't believe the numbers. I said it off rip. There's 1,400 people at a rate. Because remember, that was the initial, people forget, that was the initial claim, is that the majority of people who died were civilians at a rave. That didn't make any sense to me. I don't know if I've ever been to a rave, but 1,400 people being at a rave is in a big city is crazy. It's pretty nuts. That would be a wild rave. But all 1,400 of them dying in an event would be even more insane. That would be That's just that you wouldn't see that type of that just wouldn't make any sense. So I'm like, that isn't the math wasn't math and arithmetically speaking is my point. Then it was mostly civilians and babies, and I'm thinking like, well, damn, how do babies get out of rave, man? Like, I noticed that a couple of kibbutzes have been also invaded, like they had gotten breached, okay, but that wasn't really being as discussed. The focus was on the rave, but they were like, yeah, man, hundreds of babies got what? Okay, so you telling me out of there's a bunch of rave, like, so 100 babies, hundreds of babies are included in this 1,400 number? Like, okay, that's really strange, but all right. Then they're like, and it was kind of like 3 IDF soldiers. Okay, well, why were there no IDF soldiers when you were on the border of Gaza in a occupied area? All right, but and it was a bunch of people were killed and beheaded, and that we still haven't seen the videos. And they were all at the rave for the most part. Like, that story was not adding up. And then it comes out, actually, most of the people, a soldier said this, an IDF soldier said this, by the way. An IDF soldier came out and said that the majority of the people that Hamas killed were IDF soldiers. So if the majority of people that Hamas killed were IDF soldiers, and let's just say, for the sake of the argument, that the 1,400 number is true. Let's just say, for the sake of the argument, I don't know if that's actually factual. Let's just say it is true, right? Who do y'all think killed the rest? Because listen, y'all, I go to the gym. You know, I work out a little bit. I do my push-ups when my back isn't hurting because I'm getting old. I do my crunches. I get my core workouts in. My traps ain't what they used to be, but they still trapping. It's still been fortunate. I'm a pretty strong guy, man. So I know I'm pretty strong, but if those cars couldn't survive the onslaught from those Apache helicopters from Israel, how good of a job do you think Israel or Israelis, human beings, flesh and bone, how good of a job do you think they would have done surviving that thing, that attack from Israel that sent thousands of cars to a graveyard? If anything, when you look at that and you look at the testimonies and you start doing the math, you're like, well, damn, if hundreds of cars were destroyed by Israel's attack, it seems that there's a good likelihood that thousands of people could have been destroyed or killed. And they're underreporting the numbers because if you start figuring out that, like, you just, once again, do the math, people. How much artillery and firepower does Hamas actually have access to? They had to parachute in. They couldn't do no drone strike. They couldn't do drone strikes like that, right? They couldn't do airstrikes from these damn jets like Israel was doing. Or else they probably would have in order to prevent any of their lives from being taken. That's what Israel does because they're fucking cowards, right? That's why they bomb civilians. They have to do it from a distance because they can't scrap up close, right? But these people came in on damn parachutes. Shoo, and they managed to kill 1,400 people, supposedly. Right? Like, that's crazy, bro. Or is it more believable that Apache helicopters killed the majority of those people? By the way, that's not all the artillery that Israel used during that altercation. So there's that. This is just, once again, so we got confirmation that IDF soldiers killed other IDF soldiers. We got confirmation that the Apache helicopters killed IDF soldiers. And we got confirmation that there were orders that came down from the top that told artillery to shell Israeli infrastructure because they panicked and didn't know what to do, and they were worried that Hamas was inside. And they also knew that Israelis were inside. They just didn't care. Hannibal directive. If they're beside Hamas, kill them. That's how they treat anybody who's Israeli. They don't care. They don't care. I'm not saying what is or what isn't. I'm not saying what is, but I can't tell you for 100% lie. But I can tell you this: I ain't seen one statement from Israel that wasn't a lie. And I need to know. We're finding out every day more and more that Israel killed more and more of their own. And the justification by many Zionists for this genocide is that we have to get Hamas now. Why? Because they killed all these civilians. You always see the same thing on Twitter. They rape people. They beheaded babies. It's the same 3 talking points over and over again, and they never provide any evidence of this. But they say because they killed civilians. And so we are okay. They say this. The Zionists said they're okay with civilians being massacred as long as they get Hamas, because they killed Israeli civilians. So are you okay with Israelis being massacred? Because Israel killed the majority of the civilians, what it looks like. At least they killed as many as Hamas allegedly did. So why are y'all not outraged at this? I'll be honest with you, y'all. I know America can be pretty sleepy sometimes, but if a mass attack happened, and it was confirmed almost a week later, actually the U.S. killed the majority of the people who died in that attack. Are bad. Bro. There would be resignations, there would be hell, there would be riots there. I mean, that would go. There's a reason that the U.S. goes through very, very, very extensive lengths to hide its false flag operations. Because they couldn't pull what Israel has done, get caught in real time, like almost a couple of days later, where people are coming out over and over and over again saying, yeah, IDF killed its own people. IDF killed its own people. IDF killed its own people. And it's confirmed. It's official testimony. I mean, days later, the U.S. can never get away with that, bro. Hell would break loose. They know. Don't get it twisted. I'm not saying that they don't kill their own people, guys. I'm fully aware of Operation Northwood. Yeah, I'm aware of it. I know how it works. I know how it goes. But I'm saying they would do a much better job hiding it. But Israel, these people are so fucking deranged. They're so deranged that they can hear that Israel indiscriminately killed its own people. Probably more than Hamas. I'm just saying, based off of the evidence, probably more than what Hamas is responsible for killing. And no one cares. None of the Israelis are like, yo, man, is that true? Your family members, some of y'all family members were killed by Israel. And they'll be like, man, but these Zionists, what? It's Hamas's fault. So is it Hamas's fault that Hamas just asked for Israel to do a 5-day ceasefire and Netanyahu came out and said, nope. And Hamas like, we'll exchange prisoners for a ceasefire. Because that's what we've been hearing. It's about the hostages. Once we start getting the hostages, then we can talk about a ceasefire. And they're like, yeah, okay, fine. Here's some hostages. Ceasefire, 5 days. No. Nope. Because Netanyahu doesn't care about Israelis. He doesn't care about Jewish people. The Israel brass in general, all their leadership, they don't care about Israelis. I don't know how much more evidence do you need of that? Don't worry, guys. If you're American, you understand how that feels. They don't care if we die. They're going to make policy that is directly contradictory to our self-interest. And that's just that is reality at the moment. So we get it. We belong to a country that doesn't give a shit about us too. But at least now the majority of Americans don't pretend that it's like that they care, that our politicians care. What's weird about the Netanyahu situation, really quick before we go, is do y'all know how many Israelis hate this man? They hate this man. But this is how crazy, like, yo, I've dated an Israeli, yo. I mean, one of the sweetest people I know. And then the moment you bring up Israel, the Israel-Palestine conflict, it's like a fucking switch goes off. And the lies come out. And the logic just dissipates. I'm like using her own words, like, For example, the first thing I asked when anyone wants to make an argument about rights, right? Because she was an IDF, obviously. I say, yo, so do Gazans? Because you say they have equal rights, which is crazy to me. Because so can Gazans send their military into Israel to make sure y'all don't attack them? Because you said that y'all go into there to occupy to make sure that they don't attack y'all. So can they do the same thing? Because y'all actually y'all killed more of them than they have of y'all. She's like, no, of course not. Well, why not? I thought y'all had equal rights. Oh, well, I mean, she's like, well, first of all, they're not allowed to come into the city without, like, into Israel without extreme. I'm like, oh, well, why? I'm confused. If they have the same rights as y'all, but y'all can go out there? I'm confused. She's like, well, no, it's different. Like, no, it's not different. How is it different? And I was like, okay, whatever. Let's just say that's different. Okay, so I said, y'all have what we would call Second Amendment rights, correct? She's like, yeah. I was like, do Gazans? She's like, no, of course not. I was like, yeah, I know Luna's been walking behind me. She said, no, of course not. I was like, what do you mean? Of course not. If y'all have them and they have equal rights, why don't they get? Well, because they might use them to attack Israelis. I'm like, well, y'all literally shoot them. Y'all shoot protesters. If y'all think that they're dangerous, but they can't defend themselves if you enter their home. Well, if we're going to their home, it's to check if they're a threat. I'm like, so they can go into your home to check if you're a threat? Can they use their police force to do the same thing? No. I'm like, okay, so you're not understanding the problems with this? They don't have equal rights. And if y'all been lying about, if y'all have lied to yourselves about this, is it possible that you've potentially been lying to yourself about everything else to justify your complicity with this whole situation? Right? Like, they all hate Benjamin. Like, bro, the majority of nobody in Israel even knows how Netanyahu keeps winning. That man got removed from office and he came back. He's back. They hate him. But the moment he says anything about Gaza, well, that's different, man. We believe him on that. Do you believe him on literally anything else, guys? Do you believe anything Netanyahu says in any other situation? Most of them will tell you absolutely not. Most of them will tell you absolutely not. It's like if you ask, okay, ooh, this is a good one. Ask a conservative or a neocon, a Zionist neocon. Do you agree with Joe Biden on literally anything else? Absolutely not. They hate that man. Don't believe a word that comes out of his mouth, including about Ukraine. Oh, but you believe him about Israel? Absolutely, 100%. Why wouldn't I? Look, because you disagree with this man's entire core being. What is different about this issue? Well, the difference with this issue is I've already made my decision about it. That's what it is. That's the only difference. It's like people's brains break. The logic. Y'all know me, bro. I have like this weird, it's one of the reasons I was so good at debate, guys. Well, I'm still good at it, but I'm saying like one of the things that propelled me and helped me understand when to attack people's arguments quickly is I have like this like alarm in my head that goes off when I hear a logical fallacy. That's how I did so well in the LSAT. When I'm reading stuff out loud to myself, I mean, like whispering, but it's like a logic, and I have to do it out loud. I can't just read it and do it. It's like something like sound activates it. If things don't sound correct in my mind, even if I'm not even paying attention, I could just be hearing something off on the side. It's like, what the hell? That doesn't sound right. That doesn't make any sense. Most people don't have anything close to that. A lot of people have to learn logic. Everybody has to learn logic, but like there are some people who can learn logic, but can't process it in real time because logic is something that you practice and it's supposed to be free of extenuating circumstance, but people have trauma that they are attached to. They have an identity that is attached to propaganda. And that identity usually is for them. They believe that they are this kind, morally righteous person that that makes decisions and has beliefs that are righteous and correct, right? Otherwise, that ruins their little white knight syndrome that they have themselves. So their logic is attached to too much other shit, basically, is what I'm saying. And that's why it becomes illogical. That's why they can be logical in a lot of different situations, but a situation that arises that they have a personal attachment to can completely skew all of their logic. It throws it out the window. I don't have that. Maybe because I'm on the spectrum. Like it's not. I don't have. If anything, my logic is boosted by my empathy. I used to think it's because I was apathetic. I was too apathetic. I'm not an apathetic person. People used to say that about me because I was a logical person, and because I wasn't concerned about their emotions regarding the logic of a situation. People thought I was a non-emotional person, which is not the case at all. But it's because I understood even back then, if we're just going to have a conversation about what's the best path forward and what is the root cause of an issue and what is the best solution for that issue, you can't have emotion involved. Empathy is not emotion, right? Sympathy even is not emotion. Those are almost measurable and are rightful contributors to logic, actually, in real life circumstances, in game theory of life, if you will. But you can't have emotion involved when it comes to logic, because it will corrupt you and destroy everything. And you can't have a conversation once that happens. Ask Destiny. He knows. Right? With that being said, ladies and gentlemen, thank you all so much for tuning into this live stream segment of the For the People podcast. I'm gonna try to get a couple more streams in while I'm on the road, on vacation, or whatever you want to call it. I'm not really on vacation, bro. I haven't really had a day off since I got here. But follow us on Twitter at Real Niko House if you can fucking find me. Whatever. I'm shadow banned there in case you haven't heard. But follow me there. Follow Hotspot's Twitter. Hotspot at Hotspot. You can find my Hotspot segments there. Also the segments of Nick Cruz from Revolutionary Blackout Network. He's part of the Hotspot team as well. Does some amazing work. Just did a great one on Iran and the censorship of Rashida Tlaib. Go check that out. Follow me on Telegram so you can get all of our updates. The link to those are, by the way, are in the description. You can support the show by joining us on Patreon. Go to Patreon. Becoming a premium subscriber to Rockfin. By the way, I will be doing my Rockfin premium streams again, like exclusive content for Rockfin once I get back to Brazil. Once I get back to Brazil, I actually have all of my stuff again. So make sure y'all become a premium subscriber on Rockfin, because when we start getting into some of these other conversations about Israel, y'all know we can't talk about it here. Y'all know, come on, y'all know it's YouTube, man. Follow me on Instagram also at Real Niko House. Other than that, ladies and gentlemen, I think that's it, man. So yeah, subscribe on Telegram. The link's in the description. Support us on Patreon. Or you can do Bitcoin donation or Cash App, whatever. I have all that stuff too. And follow us on Twitter and Instagram. All right. Other than that, always remember more than anything else, find your balance. Peace.